Question 1. The role of Gram Sabha under Pesa most closely resemble traditional tribal panchayats in which of the following aspects? First one is control over minor forest produce. Second is resolution of minor disputes. Third is management of community resources. Fourth thing is imposition of punitive criminal sections. So correct answer will be role of Gram Sabha under Pesa most closely resemble the traditional tribal panchayat in which of the following aspect? Control over minor forest produce सही है. Resolution of minor disputes, community resources, imposition of punitive criminal sections. तो सही जवाब है इसका 1, 2 and 3 only. The extension to schedule area 1996 was enacted to ensure self-governance through Gram Sabha. In schedule it recognizes the rights over their resources and governance. The Panchayat Extension Schedule is Act Pesa 19 was enacted to ensure self-governance through Gram Sabhas in schedule areas. It recognizes the rights of tribal communities over their resources and governance. Control over minor forest produce. Under minor forest produce, under Pesa, Gram Sabhas have the power to regulate and manage forests insurance tribal communities benefit directly from these resources. This reflects the traditional tribal practice of managing forests. Resolution of minor disputes. Gram Sabhas can resolve disputes within the community following traditional tribal methods of conflict resolution. This aligns with tribal custom of resolving conflicts locally and consensually. Management of community resources. Karam Savandra Paisa are empowered to manage resources like water and land at the community level. Deputy retired resources and collective responsibility, hence this is correct. Imposition of punitive criminal sections. Tribal panchayats traditionally focus on social harmony and community welfare rather than imposing punitive criminal sanctions. Paisa Act 1996. Paisa extends provisions of the Panchayati Raj systems to scheduled areas, aiming to empower tribal communities. It ensures tribal communities participates in decision making related to natural resource management. Dispute Resolution and Local Governance. The Act empowers Gram Sabhas to manage and protect community resources, regulate trade in manner first to ensure cultural preservation. Role of Gram Sabhas. Gram Sabha Act is a cornerstone of social governance, granting tribal communities autonomy in managing their affairs. Tribal communities in states like Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh use Gram Sabhas for forest management and dispute resolution. Role of Gram Sabha Act is a cornerstone. Minus forests reduced. It includes products like bamboo, honey, and medicinal plants vital for tribal livelihood. PESA ensures tribal community benefit from the sale and trade of these products in reducing exploitation by external entities. Dispute resolution. Gram Sabha use traditional method like community meetings and consensus to resolve conflict emphasizing restorative justice. Key features of PESA empowers Gram Sabha to safeguard and preserve traditions, customs, and culture identity of tribal communities. Enables Gram Sabha to approve plans, programs, and projects for social and economic development. Challenges implementation, lack of awareness and adequate training for Gram Sabha members, encroachment of tribal land and resources by external entities, need for effective monitoring and support from state governments. Article 336 is related to from National Commission for Scheduled Class. First, under Article 336 of the Constitution, the National Commission for Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes was established, ensuring all the safeguards provided for the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes under the Constitution or other laws. Under Article 348 of the Constitution, National Commission for Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes was established with the objective of monitoring all the safeguards provided for scheduled and scheduled tribes under the Constitution or other laws. The special officer for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes shall be appointed by the President. The special officer for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes shall be appointed by the President. It is the responsibility of the special officer to examine all matters pertaining to the safeguards laid down in this Constitution for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and report to the President on the operation of such safeguards at school. Such periods may be ordered by the President, and the President shall make all such reports available to each House of Parliament. References to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes shall be interpreted in this article as including references to those other backward groups which are present can, upon receipt of the report of the Commission, appointed pursuant to Article 341 resident designed for order and observing the community. According to Article 346, Constitution of India deals with the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes. The National Commission for Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes came into being following the adoption of the 65th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1990. The Commission has been formed pursuant to Article 338. The goal is to control all the protection provided for by the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes under the Constitution or other regulation. In 1999, our new Ministry of Tribal Affairs was formed to have a clear emphasis on the welfare and growth of STs. Article 338 says from National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, the Person with Disabilities, Equal Opportunities, Protection of Rights and Full Participation Act 1995 from National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. The National Commission for Women was set up by State Board in January 1992 under the National Commission for Women Act 1990. Which article of Indian Constitution deals with the right to assemble peacefully and without arms? Article 19(1)(b). Article 19(1)(b) of the Indian Constitution guarantees the right to assemble peacefully and without arms. This right is one of the six fundamental rights under Article 1, which ensure the protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech, etc. The right to assemble is subject to certain restrictions imposed in the interest of public order, sovereignty, and integrity of India. This right allows people to come together for a common purpose and express their views, share ideas, and participate in political and social activities. It is a crucial aspect of democratic society, enabling citizens to hold peaceful protest, demonstration, and rallies. Article 19 throughout the territory of India, this right ensures that citizens can travel and reside in without any restriction. Article 19 also guarantees the right to form associations or unions. This right allows citizens to create and join group associations or unions for any lawful purpose. Article 19(1) provides the right to freedom of speech expression. This right allows citizens to express their views, opinions, and beliefs freely. The National Grid Tribunal has been established for the enforcement of environmental rights emanating from which article of the Indian Constitution? Article 21. The National Green Tribunal was established in 2010 under National Green Tribunal Act 2010 to ensure the protection of the environment and provide speedy justice on environmental issues. To ensure the protection of the environment and provide speedy justice on environmental issues. Article 80 of the Indian Constitution guarantees the fundamental right to life and personal liberty, include the right to a clean and healthy environment. The NGT plays a significant role in enforcing environmental rights emanating from Article 80. The NGT plays a significant role in enforcing environmental rights emanating from Article 80, ensuring sustainable development and balancing economic growth with ecological preservation. NGT is a specialized judicial body that is exclusive with environmental cases reduced in the burden regulatory. It has jurisdiction over all cases related to environmental laws listed in Schedule of one of the National Green Tribunal Act 2010. Article is known as the right to life and personal liberty. Article is considered one of the most significant fundamental rights in Indian Constitution. The Supreme Court of India has expanded its interpretation to include the right to a clean and pollution-free environment. It encompasses the protection of air, water, forest, and wildlife for maintaining ecological balance. National Green Tribunal, headquartered in New Delhi, the NGT has regional benches in Bhopal, Pune, Kolkata, and Chennai. It is guided by principle of natural justice and aims to provide relief and compensation to affected individuals. Cases under NGT includes issues related to deforestation, air and water pollution, waste management, and biodiversity protection. Environmental jurisprudence in India. India has a robust legal framework for environmental protection, including laws such as Environmental Protection Act 1986 and the Water Prevention and Control Pollution Act 1974. Judicial activism by Indian courts has expanded the scope of Article 8 to include rights related to environmental protection. Public interest litigation have been instrumental in addressing environmental concerns in India. Sustainable development. The concept of sustainable development advocates the balance between economic growth and social and environmental conservation. The NGT emphasizes sustainable development in its rulings to ensure long-term economic stability. Each of the following articles states allows the states to make special provision for social and educational backward classes. Article 15 subclause 5 Article 15 circulars mandates and institution empower the states to make special provision for advancement of social and educational backward classes, social constituted tribes. This provision was added through the 93rd Constitutional Amendment Act 2005. It specifically enables the states to make reservation in education institutions, including private education institutions, but excludes minority education institutions. The main objective of Article 15 is to promote social justice and equality by providing affirmative clause 4 in Article 16, which also focuses on the welfare of classes. 93rd Constitutional Amendment Act. This amendment inserted clause 5 in Article 15. It has enacted to provide reservation for backward classes. It was enacted to provide reservation for backward class in the private educational institution. The amendment aims to address educational inequalities in the country. Article 15 से clause 4 introduced by the first Constitutional Amendment Act 1951 empower the state to make special provision for the advancement of socially and extremely backward classes, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Article 12 provides for equality of opportunity in public employment, allows the region of backward classes service under the state. Reservation in education. Article 15 पर सर्कुलर 5 प्रायोरिटी पावर इन लगन द implementation of reservation higher education institutions like the ITIM and the government funded institution. Private and aided institution also fall under provision. Which of the following parts of the continuing constitution contain Article 340 that is the unit taxes? Part Art Part out of the Indian Constitution deals with the unit taxes is included. Article 340 which outline the administrative structure and governance. Article 340 provides for the administration of union territories by the president through an administrator appointed by him known as the Lieutenant General. Article 340 special provision in policy regarding its legislative, certain council of ministers. Article 340 empower the president to make regulations for certain union states such as Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Lakshadweep and others. Article 340 provides for the establishment of a high court for union territories or for extending the jurisdiction of a high court of an existing state of union territory. Union territories in India. India currently has 8 union territories including Delhi, Puducherry, Andaman and Nicobar Island, Lakshadweep, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, and Daman, Diu, Chandigarh, Jammu, Kashmir, Ladakh. Union territories are directly owned by central government, unlike states which have their own government. Some union territories like Delhi and Puducherry have their own elected legislative assemblies and council ministers. Features of territories they are established based on administrative convenience, geographical factors, or socio-political reasons. Union territories may either have lieutenant governor or administrators who act as the representative of the president. Unlike states that do not have a complete autonomy and this government is largely controlled by the central government. Important constitutional provision. Article 1 of the Constitution defines India as a union of states and mentions the categories of states and union territories. Article 246 under Part 8 defines deals with the union territory governance. The president can make regulations for union territories that do not have a legislative assembly. Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh became union territories on 31 October 2000 following the application of Article 270 and other bifurcation of Kashmir. Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman Diu were constituted state union territory on 26 January 2000. Basic constitution. States have their own governments with legislative, executive, and judicial power. With while union directly by the central government, union territory are generally smaller in size and population compared to states. Some union territories like Delhi and Puducherry have partially state-like government, but their powers are limited compared to states. Administrative setup. Union territory without a legislative assembly are governed by administrative or lieutenant appointed by the president. Union territory with the legislature and example Delhi Puducherry have elected deputy and the chief minister, but the central government remains still in control. Which of the constitutional and constitutional amendment act not inserted any Jpsc's 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act? 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992 provided constitutional status to Panchayati Raj institution, but it did not insert any Jpsc's. This amendment introduced provision for the decentralization of power through the establishment of Panchayat and Gram Sabha under Part 9 of the Constitution. It mandated the establishment of three-tier system of Panchayati Raj for rural local governance and provided for the reservation of seats for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and women. It mandated the establishment of three-tier system of Panchayat Raj for rural developments and provided for the reservation of seats for scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and women. The Act does not remain part 4 of the Indian Constitution, which contains the DPSPs, which include provision for state election commission, state planning, and extending for Panchayat. DPSPs, economic justice, and the incident in Part 4, Article 36 they are non-justiciable, meaning they cannot be enforced by courts but are fundamentally governance. The examples include Article 40 equal pay for equal work and Article 45 free and compulsory education for children. Known as the mini constitution, this amendment inserted several debates, legal aid and Article 40 protection of the environment. Jpsc Constitutional Amendment Act inserted Article 21 making education a and included a DPSP under Article 45 to provide early childhood care and education. Swali's Constitutional Amendment Act focused on reducing the scope of the provision and did not any add any DPSPs to the Constitution. Who among the following appoints the Speaker for pro tem of Lok Sabha President? The Speaker pro tem of the Lok Sabha is appointed by the President of India. This appointment is made before the first session of the newly elected Lok Sabha. The Speaker pro tem is responsible for presiding over the first meeting of the Lok Sabha until the Speaker is elected. The primary duty of the Speaker pro tem is to administer the oath of the office to newly elected member of the Lok Sabha. The Speaker pro tem is usually the senior most member of the Lok Sabha chosen for their experience and knowledge. It is the lower house of the India's parliament and is composed of members directly elected by the public. The Lok Sabha is responsible for lawmaking, financial bills, and holding the government accountable. Speaker of the Lok Sabha. The Speaker is elected by the member of the Lok Sabha after the first session commences. The Speaker is responsible for maintaining order and presiding over the Lok Sabha proceeding. Role of President. The President of India is the head of the state and appoints key officer, including the Speaker pro tem. Smooth parliamentary operation. Parliamentary session. The for administrating oaths and election. The Speaker. The Speaker pro tem plays a vital role during this transition phase. The Citizenship Act 1955 deals with the determination of citizens on or after 26 January 1950. The Constitution of India provides for senior citizens for the and deals with the matter relating to acquisition, determination, and termination of Indian citizenship after the commencement of this Constitution. Every person who was at the commencement of the Constitution is known which are domiciled in the territory of India and who was born in India, either of whose parents were born in India, who has been automatically resident in India for not less than 5 years, becomes citizen of India. The date service number 1950 has great historical significance for India as it marked the adoption of Constitution of India. On this day, the Constitution of India formally adopted the Constitution, which came into force on January 26, replacing the Government of India Act 1935, the governing document of India. 15 August 1930 is an important date in the history of India because it is the day when India got independence from British rule. On 14 August 1940, Pakistan came into existence as a separate nation, making the end of British rule in the subcontinent. The recent unrest in West Timor or the Mankimundo system was mainly because of misinterpretation of administrative directive led to fear of interference in customary leadership. The recent unrest in West Bengal region during September 2025 was triggered by widespread rumors and the misinterpretation of 9-point directive issued by the Daesh administration. Deputy Commissioner issued regarding the prolonged absence of some Mundas village heads. Reports of them restricting the livelihoods of non-tribal communities. The misunderstanding is that members misinterpret these guidelines, which were intended to bring transparency based on historical evidence and rule of Atasete, such as movement heads and abolish their customary self-governance. Social media influence false information spread rapidly on social media, suggesting that the government intended to override the century-old on democracy system, leading to massive protest by thousands of tribal members at the headquarters. Government abolished the system. The government did not abolish the system. The district administration officially clarified that the monkeys and mundas remain integral to the revenue and administrative framework of Jharkhand. Tribal leaders demanded separate status, while the Jharkhand movement historically sought status this specific and this was localized to the protection of tribal traditional governance rather than the need to beyond protest against the land acquisition by mining companies. While land acquisition is a recurring issue in West Bengal, the primary driver of the party was to accept the threat to personal leadership and administrative autonomy.